Good afternoon. I am Gisela Flanigan, and I'm representing Sistema Global, a nonprofit organization. First of all, thank you so much for coming to the presentation. What we would like to do on behalf of Sistema Global is to present who we are, what we're doing, and our dreams, and we would love to have your input too. So please feel free to ask questions and give us anything that can help us out too. So a little bit about us. Mission, the next slide. There you go. As of right now, we have a double mission. We are about a 6-year-old organization founded by Glenn Thomas, who is actually a businessman, very successful businessman, who loves Venezuela very much. And he was actually born there, even though he's an American citizen. And he has had conversations with Maestro Abreu. So our organization was born with the approval of Maestro Abreu, which is very meaningful to us. I came into the organization not long ago. At first, I became a volunteer. And eventually, I have become the executive director of the organization as our founder has retired, and he created the mission and the vision. Now we do have a brand new board that we were able to put together. So we are in the process of starting the second stage of development as a nonprofit organization, which will include revision of the mission and vision to clarify and strengthen our mission, and then continue with partnerships and initiatives. So as you can see, we have a double mission. The first one is to connect, encourage, and inspire Sistema programs and leaders worldwide. So our reach is worldwide. It's not focused on a specific region in the country or in the world. One of the things that makes us strong is that we have our values is we value collective impact. And as I'm reading this, we value collective impact for the development of the whole child as an ultimate matter of global public health. This last statement actually is very much related with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals to transform the world. So we are, in fact, affecting the change worldwide in our small field, but we do hope that it does make a difference. Our vision is a double vision, but more importantly, we do want to be the main resource of information for El Sistema programs throughout the world and about El Sistema programs. And again, we are a 6-year-old organization that was led by our founder, Glenn Thomas, and now that we are entering our second stage, our job as a team is to really look at each one of those goals and act on them. Shall we do the next one? So what we do have a website, so our impact is virtual. We don't have a place, we don't have a location. Everything that we do it through our website, and I encourage you to go to our website, which is sistemaglobal.org. And we connect programs throughout the world. Sometimes we get emails or through our social media. We are very active on Facebook, Twitter, and other social media. And we connect programs to help one another if they have a need that we cannot fulfill. If you look at our website, we have a very strong directory of all El Sistema programs throughout the world. And if you do have one, please, and you're not in that directory, please contact me and we will add you to our directory. The other thing that we do is that we have an amazing number of repertoire resources for El Sistema programs to download free as of right now to use in their programs. Mainly what we're trying to do is make the life of our teachers and our programs much easier, especially when they begin the programs. We know that at the beginning you can't feel lost and overwhelmed by so many things that you have to do. as you create a nonprofit organization or a project in itself. So our job is to help you become a much more focused organization for the kids and act on your mission. We do have a partnership with the El Sistema Program in Venezuela with Maestro Eduardo Mendez, who is the executive director of the El Sistema Program. And he is, in fact, on our board of directors. So, as we have entered the second stage of development, we are hoping that with his guidance, we can also reach a much wide range of programs and countries and make a much bigger impact. Again, that's our website. We have the resources there, and we encourage you to donate compositions that you might have to the program so other programs throughout the world can use them. They do have to be copyright free. We do try to follow all copyright laws. But anything that is in our program is downloadable for your benefit and for all programs throughout the world, which is something that has taken a long time. And we have a really strong team of volunteers that throughout the years, they have helped gather all this information, the directory, the resources, and all other documents that are on our website. So a little bit about our plans for the future. But before I go to that point, Sistema Global was born out of a call that Maestro Abreu made in his TED Talk in 2009. A call to cast a vision of having a program that could reach out to all programs throughout the world to connect the El Sistema program and the vision. And therefore, Sistema Global was born out of that idea 2 years later. So that gave you a little bit of a background. Now, our plan for the future, as I said, we have a new brand new board of directors. Maestro Abreu has had a good influence on it, and we have Eduardo Mendez, again, as part of our board, and Aaron Dorkin has gracefully joined us too, so we're very excited about his perspective and how we can work together with his ideas and his vision too. We also have a new member who is a staff of the New World Symphony, and his expertise is in technology and online courses. So that's something else that we would like to add to our work for the benefit of all programs throughout the world. We try to also translate them. We don't only do them in English, but we have a good team of volunteers that are willing to translate to other languages for the benefits of other countries too. We also are working on partnerships that we can create so that we can benefit. It's not for us, but for the benefit of El Sistema programs. We're on the work. I cannot tell you details, but there are 2 partnerships that we're working on and we're really excited about. And we're hopefully come back to our website from time to time and take advantage of those partnerships. We're very excited about them. We will also like to do fundraising training because we believe that that's something that each program and each individual leader can benefit from. And that doesn't really cost us a lot, but it could be of huge financial benefit to you guys. So that's something else we're working on. And again, we're trying to do it in different languages so that it not only works for our English-speaking countries, but others too. These are our initiatives. The ones that are in red are for our stakeholders, our internal stakeholders, and the ones that are in blue are for our external stakeholders. As you can see, we're trying to utilize our virtual space with as much as we can. We're using Facebook to connect programs to help market their programs too. Videos, we're trying to activate that Now that we have a new board member, that's something else that we are working on, creating training videos that can help program leaders and program teachers as they develop throughout the year too. We also have the literature about El Sistema Program. So we do want to be that source that talks about El Sistema, not only in casual ways, but in academic ways too, which is part of the development of an organization too. When it comes to this external stakeholders, we also are planning to create partnerships with not only arts and culture organizations, but we're also trying to create partnerships with health-related organizations because we believe the fact that El Sistema will develop the whole child, and the health aspect is super important too. Before I actually move on to this slide, do you have any specific questions that you might want to ask? No? Okay. So really, we're here to help you. I know that we are worldwide, but we would love to have your impact. As I said, we have a strong team of volunteers that actually come from all over the world, and we would love to have your help and your perspective too. When it comes to perspective, if you have a collaborative project that you might think that would be helpful to El Sistema programs, not necessarily for a specific program, but actually regionally or a much wider reach. We're looking for programs and projects of that type. Any questions? Yes, the Venezuelan program, it's not just about teaching music to the kids, but they also have of course, they had a lot of help from other aspects. So they had a lot of nurses, doctors that were available to help the children. And that's part of the approach for the whole child, So it's something that we are trying to encourage programs, not only to teach music, but also approach that other aspect of the development of the child. Because in the end, it's to create citizens, whole citizens, and you cannot be whole if you don't have a good health, Yes.
You guys do help in other countries. How do you go about donating instruments to kids all around the world?
Right now, we don't donate instruments, but what we have in our plans is to create partnerships so that programs in other countries can connect with corporations and get a much easier price to buy their instruments. Yes.
I'm Katie Wyatt with El Sistema USA. We're thrilled to have you at Sistema Global as a partner in the international movement of El Sistema. I've been thinking about some of the conversations I had with Marshall Marcus, who is also here from Sistema Europe. And one way Sistema Global could be really helpful, I think, is promoting international exchange between the Sistema programs around the world. It would be incredible to send young American students from Baltimore, from Miami, from Detroit to Europe, to Venezuela, to the Sistema program in South Korea. It would be so interesting to have this international exchange. Is that something that you've thought about?
Absolutely, and Marshall is on our advisory board too. And yes, thank you, Katie. We would love to do that. Of course, in order to do that, we do have the need of funding, and that is part of our next stage of creating a fundraising plan and budgeting for that type of activities. But yes, that's in our dreams, absolutely.
Good afternoon. My name is David Burnett. I'm a violinist. I'm from Harlem School of the Arts, where I've been teaching for 31 years this year. I'm a violinist. And
I was curious, in addition to, of course, international traveling, maybe if there are, maybe on your website, I'm not sure because I haven't visited yet, if you have a program set up such that schools within even different cities can get together and have collaborative concerts, because it's definitely beneficial when the kids get a chance to meet other kids. And I know when I did one, it was about maybe 17 years ago, we went to the Dominican Republic, and we went there for a month during the summer, and we had them come up for a month, and the kids have forged these amazing friendships over social media. So I was curious if you had something like that going on.
You know, we don't have that, but I do encourage, and you know, we do have Katie Wyatt here. So for within the United States, that's a wonderful idea. As an international effort, I think it's a fantastic idea. We don't have the funds for that, but that is part of our dreams to be able to create exchange programs of that activity, because we do see the wonderful value, as you have said it beautifully. Absolutely, we do have that capability of doing that. Absolutely. Yes.
Hello, my name is Randy Leon. I'm a cellist. I've been teaching at El Sistema Program in Manhattan called WIN for about 4 or 5 years now. It's great. The kids are wonderful, and I love teaching. One thing that I am concerned about, they don't get a lot of concert-going opportunities. They do play a lot, and they do a lot of music, and they're wonderful at it, and they're really passionate about it. I'm really nervous. I don't know why, but it's great.
It's okay.
We did go to one trip to Carnegie Hall. We all collected enough money to go see it, and they were all thrilled about it. And of course, lack of funding within the because we're all nonprofit organization. And I was wondering, what are ways that maybe you guys can help us with other El Sistema programs to go see concerts like this, to inspire them to say, hey, this is what you're going for.
You know, that's a wonderful idea, and that's really something that we encourage our programs and all programs to do. I would suggest maybe Katie, would you like to address that since you're from the States?
Sure.
Huh?
Sorry, reframe the question.
Oh yeah, sure. Concert-going opportunities for the El Sistema program.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh sure.
WIN is a new member of El Sistema USA, so we're really excited to be part of it. The concert-going opportunities, a big part of the El Sistema design is a local nucleo, as you know, and so building partnerships within your local environment is something El Sistema USA is working on here and offering partnership models. So across the country, there are incredible examples of the Detroit Symphony and Sphinx are an excellent example of the way that concert-going opportunities are put in place for the Sistema programs here in Detroit, and could be very similarly created in the New York area. They've got Detroit might be a great place to start. They've got great sample memorandums of agreement between Sphinx and the El Sistema programs, or between Wayne State University and the El Sistema programs, or between the Detroit Symphony. I'd be happy to help you with that, of course.
You are already connecting.
Hi, Gisela. Hello, Marshall Marcus. So thank you for name-checking that before. I just thought I'd say something practical of what Sistema Europe does in terms of the question there about attending concerts, because I think it's a really, really good question. And actually, what I would say is wherever your Sistema is, just find out who the local orchestras are and go and see them and ask to make a thing. You know, some of the ones in Europe, like in Liverpool, in Gothenburg, are based actually with an orchestra as an official partner, and that can be very useful institutionally. But even if you're not, I'll use the example, let's say, in Portugal, in the Gulbenkian Orchestra, which is the main orchestra in Lisbon. So the Orquestra Geração there, they just went and talked to the Gulbenkian, and they have a side-by-side project. And actually, in terms of going to concerts, I think that's a great start, but actually playing side-by-side is what the kids really love. For anybody who's interested, if you want to do any international things, to go to projects, there's an amazing Swedish project side-by-side that happens in June. They've just done their call-out. And it's a fantastic way in which, you know, the young kids sit next to the kids, next to the adults in the Gothenburg Symphony Orchestra. I think, you know, Gisela, you're Venezuelan, so you know what I'm going to say very, very personally. But in Venezuela with El Sistema, one of the great things is we say the planning is the doing.
Right.
So whilst, so I think whilst if you have an interest in that, basically you just do it. That's what they say. And you know, America, the States, I think you're a country that is a great believer in seizing opportunity. Don't wait too much. So I think El Sistema and USA work well in that way. If you want to take the kids to the concerts, just go to your local orchestra. And I know Katie's.
And Sarah Johnson is here from Carnegie Hall.
Yeah, yeah. So you should make sure you must. She's in another session at the moment, but you have to doorstep her after the session and don't let her go away until she's an agreement to actually go to Carnegie. So it's a very kind of. I just want to get the emphasis over with Sistema that it's a very practical grassroots thing. Just do it. Thanks.
Yes, and you know, it's so easy to call the orchestras around, and sometimes they have discount prices for children to begin with. So start tapping on that, and then, you know, do your marketing and say, look, this is who we are, this is what we're doing, and they might just say, you know what, bring them all in for free. But you have to speak, you have to say it, you know, just knock on the door. And again, as in other presentations, the worst thing that can happen is that they'll say no. So you're already earning something. Mm-hmm.
Hi, my name's Sunny, and I work with a El Sistema inspired program through the University of Michigan at one of our local elementary schools. And something that we haven't had the longevity to do is looking at data. And so I'm wondering if you guys have any data on the effect of these programs, and if you track the longevity of the students that are in them and see what the outcome is.
You know, I was just talking to Katie yesterday about this for lunch, right? And so Sistema USA is doing something fantastic when it comes to data with the partnership with Duke University, correct? So I think for the United States, Katie is your source, for sure. In Venezuela, there have been some studies done by the International Development Bank, or sponsored by them. So you might want to look at some of that, and they are on our webpage. So that's a great resource too. But definitely for numbers about the United States, Katie is the source. El Sistema USA. Thank you.
Hi. I just had a question also about your point about how El Sistema is like a holistic approach type of group and how it affects the health of the students that are being taught and met with. I'm just curious to know more about the extent to which you've noticed increases in mental health benefits, maybe community engagement, just more along the lines of like the humanitarian effects of this program.
Again, those numbers you could see in the Venezuelan study, and I believe perhaps Sistema USA might be doing some of that too. We don't have numbers. You know, it's such a subtle thing to put numbers to. You know, right. But in the end, you know, I always say numbers are wonderful, and numbers do tell a part of the story. But if you were to go to Venezuela, you see the results. I mean, you breathe it.
That's really what I want to know, not so much the numbers, but just how it's touching people's lives.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, as a Venezuelan, I can tell you many, many stories. You know, like make us all cry, and we would all be crying at the end of the story. But it's fantastic. You know, the idea of changing somebody's life, it can just happen in one day by one act that the child might need at the moment. You know, you see the members of the Simon Bolivar Orchestra, you've seen them for many years. Well, they look like rock stars. But in that group, you will have different type of socioeconomic levels. And they're family. You know, that doesn't matter anymore, the different socioeconomic levels. And I think that in itself is a big change. And you know, the other thing that as I talked to the leaders of El Sistema back in Venezuela, something that they always say, you know, everybody focuses on the child and the lower economic children lives that are changing. But we also need to look at how the lives of the children that are in the higher economic level changing. Because once they connect and they become friends with the other kind, if I may say, their lives change and their parents' lives change too. So people become a little bit more empathetic, you know, and that's changing the world one note at a time, you know.
I just got a question that says, can you advise on how to plan projects when hoping to gain sponsorship attention? So like when you're programming.
You know, an easy way is once you have a concert set, find yourself some sponsors. Banks are by law required to help the community. Remember that. In the United States at least. So yes, call the banks and say, who can I talk to about a project? And they, by law, they're supposed to lead you to a person in their institution. So that you could begin with that. And honestly, your coffee shops. If you need food, call the supermarkets. They have programs. Sometimes it's very little money, but if you go to the 4 or 5 supermarkets, that adds up. So yes, call all corporations, all businesses in your community. Any other questions? Well, we're here, you know, again, come back to our webpage. We're looking always for volunteers. There's a page that talks about our volunteer needs, and join the team. You know, we're really trying to change the world once, you know, again, one note at a time, 1 year at a time, and we're hoping that you can join us too. Thank you.
Can I ask something? While we have some time, would you indulge us in maybe a special story that has really inspired you to do the work that you do? Maybe a favorite one.
Personally, I am from Venezuela, so I'm from the older generation. So I did see the program become what it is little by little. My whole family has been part of El Sistema since the 70s, and first of all, the friendships that you create, you have no idea what that means. You know, you create brothers and sisters for the rest of your life. That's something. And you know, as I'm constantly talking to my brother, who is in charge of the newborn program and the program for handicapped and people with disabilities, I mean, the stories that you hear, it just makes you cry. You know, being able to help children that are not able to hear, and you see other members learning the language, sign language, just to communicate and to make music together. You know, that's amazing, amazing. So yeah, I mean, I could tell you a lot of stories that are kind of personal because it's my friend's perspective, but yeah, you know, Maestra Vero keeps talking about, you know, that child that used to sleep with a gun under their pillow, and once they enter the program, now they slept with a clarinet under their pillow. That's change, and that's powerful. In stories like this, there are so many, so many. So I think we can do it. And again, remember, Maestra Vero began with 11 students. So we can make each one of you can make a difference in your own way. It doesn't have to be an El Sistema, but in your own way, through your art. If it's not music, it's painting, it's film, it's something, but make a difference. And I think that's what Maestro wanted to do. He happens to be a musician, but his goal was to change people's lives. So. Thank you so much.